All right, strivers. My need to hop over to my other microphone. There we go. Oh, that might be too quiet. Give me a sec. Should have done a mic check before I started, huh? System preferences. Sound. That should be better, yeah? Yep, that looks better. Okay, great. Just a little bit. Okay. All right, it's Friday. I've streamed 3 days of this week. That's pretty fetching good, I think. Just finished my Twitter space. Took a little bit of a break to eat a cookie and drink some water and rest my brain. So now I can jump into this. I'm gonna be honest, this is only gonna be 25 minutes. I want to try and stick to my schedule for today. I know the break kind of is gonna push things back, but let's see how far I can get in 25 minutes. Before I hopped on, I wrote this. I just took some time as well to think through what I actually wanted and needed to do and kind of relate what I'm building in Flutter here to what I've already built in JavaScript. Because I think what I've built in JavaScript is actually pretty, well, it's reusable. And I should be able to apply most, if not all, of what I did over there to here. And I actually kind of already have been doing that. So we will continue. Right. So I created this packed transaction response class. And the idea of this is that in order to show people, like, let's say, like a toast on the right side of their screen, like so, up here, for example, and like have it pop out, I need some information for that toast, and that's what this is for. Or I should say, that's what this packed transaction response is for, is so I can display the toast to the user. And I don't really like having it in here, and I don't really want to have ChatGPT build something like that for me. I don't really care to try and describe to him how or what I want. So yeah, we're gonna make a new models, and we're gonna make a packed transaction response.dart. And perhaps that's lazy of me. I don't think it is. There we go. For classes and objects like this, I just don't see a reason to do that. I can use GitHub Copilot basically to make it essentially as fast as I can with other things. So like override, for example, I can just GitHub Copilot just does that for me out of the box. So no need to waste time with ChatGPT when I'm doing that. But the purpose of this transaction response is, I'm going to get back two things. Or like, let's say I send off a local call, I'm going to get back a packed response from the local call. Let's say that I send off a packed, like a send, hit the send endpoint with a transaction, that'll give me back a request key. And the request key, I can listen to it until I get back a value. And so that's what this get finished request is for. Is if I get a request key back, I use that here. And I'm actually going to make this final because I don't really care about it changing. I don't want it to change. The packed result, however, I do expect that to change. Maybe I think I can make this final as well now, which means I can make this whole thing const. Nope, can't make it constant. Okay, so we have our packed transaction response. We can use this to display our toasts. Boom, let's go. We got toasts. Or at least we have the information backing our toasts. And I can probably use ChatGPT to build some kind of UI to display this toast, which I'll likely be doing. But now, hopping back over to our services, we have our Kadena service, and I renamed these and I rebuilt them into value notifiers so that if they happen to change, I can respond to that change. And like redraw my screen based on the change that has occurred. This is something that I rather want because, I mean, if my account changes, I definitely need to update my UI with that. If my network changes, there isn't a whole lot that needs to change, but being able to change it is still going to be valuable to me. Next up is our active chains and transactions. Like having the network and active chains like modifiable and like I can listen to those changes. That's more of a like if I were to recreate Kadena code, for example, I would want that functionality, so I want it here. And last but not least, we have our transactions, which shouldn't be packed results. They should be packed transaction responses. There we go. The object that we just made. All right, now we're going to hop over to our implementation of the Kadena service, and we are going to do some work. I do think it would be good to have this sign and quick sign. And also a local. And probably a packed API in here as well, just for simplicity. So I can route all of my transactions here. Because this has the information I need to set up my packed API. It's got my network. It's got my active chains. Like, yeah, this is gonna make sense to put the packed API into my Kadena service here. So we're gonna add that. Abstract packed, I should say packed API v1. I'll just call this a packed API. Okay. So we got our packed API. We're going to want to update that every time the network every time the network changes. Not sure how we're going to use the active chains here yet. We'll see how that works. So actually, might not need the active chains in here, just because active chains like that comes from my transactions and like my requests, and I'll be passing in a list into the packed API, or like looping through all the chains that I like to send a transaction to. But I don't care too much about having the active chains here. Excuse me. The only reason I might want to keep it here is so I can display it to the user when I'm using it. Like in the bottom left corner of the screen, for example, showing the chains that the app works on. Whatever, let's just leave it for now. I don't have to use it if I don't want to. Alright, so we need packed API. Then we want this Kadena, we want QuickSign, and we want getAccounts. So let's use both of those. I might actually, we also need a connect function. So last time we built our wallet connect provider, or we just have an iWallet provider. And we have this init, connect, disconnect, QuickSign functions. And I would like to have my Kadena service be a wrapper around the provider. So we are going to do that now. Which means I need an abstract. I don't need abstract. This will be a function. We have a future. What do you give back? I'm not sure. Let's say dynamic for now. We're going to have a connect function, which connects to a wallet provider type. So we are going to connect to a given provider type. We are going to be able to disconnect. We don't need any provider type in here. We're just going to assume like the Kadena service should have that already. We are going to have quick sign, yep, and we're going to accept a quick sign request for that. Perfect. Yep, I think that's good. So what else do I need? Is there something else? Get accounts. Awesome. And that's in my Kadena Dart SDK. Let's go. Love it when I don't remember making things that help me out a lot. So the get accounts is not wholly necessary. It's only necessary if I'm using Wallet Connect. So I don't need to always call it. And I guess I kind of need to determine like when I might need to call get accounts, but for now, just for simplicity, I'm not really going to care about that. So we have our get accounts, we got quick sign, I think we're good to go. Now I'm going to just gonna comment out these, don't want those anymore, and I'm gonna delete everything here. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to build my service based on my class. Let's do it. So let's see. There we go. All right. I have the following interface. Need to build implementation of it. The iPact API v1 has the following interface. So that's a lot of information. We got lots of comments in there. Please build my implementation of the Kadena service using the iPact API v1 as it is above. All right. So we'll see how close he gets. Oh, you know what we forgot? We forgot that this Kadena service needs an iWallet provider. Oh, dang it. That's a mistake. Let's see if we can ask him to update it. with this iWallet provider, because I mean, this get accounts and QuickSign like are both going to need, and connect and disconnect are all reliant on that wallet provider. So I actually don't. Yeah, so you didn't implement any of those. So we have an iPact API v1. This isn't actually going to. I'm going to call this QuickSign and send actually. And I'm going to call this. I mean, that's a. Yeah, let's do this. Sign and local. So we have QuickSign and local. We have QuickSign and send. And then we're going to have a future dynamic local and send. Yep. So these are the three functions I'm really going to be wanting to use. So like local, for example, QuickSign and local. If I just want to call a local function, I can just get the packed API and just call local on that. Local, boom. So I'm not super worried about just doing local specifically, but I really want my Kadena service to be used to sign transactions using this wallet provider, and then to send those transactions off after they've been signed. So I just wanted to basically handle this whole process, this transaction request to the wallet, sign the transaction, and then actually send the transaction off to Kadena for me. Didn't spell that right. Like I want that whole thing. What the? To just kind of happen for me. So this Kadena service is going to handle all of this. So requesting a transaction, sign transaction received, send it to Kadena, receive transactions back. Yep. And so that's what these functions are going to be for. The QuickSign and local is going to be used to test flight transactions that are sent. So like if I sign the transaction and I send it off locally, you know what? I actually don't need this. The QuickSign and local. That's unnecessary. Because Emily added the pre-flight to the local check. So I don't need to do that. Let's go. Well, yeah, no, I don't need to. Do I? Right? It's like I can test transactions locally before I send them, which is what local and send would be. It's like I send off the transaction locally, and then I actually send it. So I don't need QuickSign and local, I don't think. At least I see no reason for it. So I'm going to get rid of it. Boom. QuickSign and send. I'm never going to use that one. Let's just focus on local and send. I will always local and send. Basically what this is saying is I will always test my transaction before I actually send it. I always will. So we can simplify our API here just by sticking to our guns, sticking to the thing we're always going to be using. And again, if I ever need to just test code, like test some packed code, test a transaction, I can just get the packed API and then just call local on it and pass in the pre-flight check and call it good. Okay, so now we should have more information available to us, and we can get our ChatGPT to actually implement this logic that he decided he wasn't going to implement, this jump. And you know what? This local and send. Packed transaction response. Get accounts is going to get accounts response. And disconnect, I'm not sure what that's going to do. Connect, I'm not sure what that's going to do. Dynamic, that's okay. Right. Here is the iWallet provider interface. Here's the rebuilt or redone Kadena service. Please implement the connect, disconnect, get accounts, and local send. Using the iWallet provider. Let's be more specific, let's be articulate. So implement the connect using the wallet provider type, the wallet connect provider class implements the iWallet provider interface. You can import it and use it. Please implement the connect, disconnect, and implement the disconnect using the iWallet provider. You can call the disconnect function on the wallet provider. I'm gonna make these void. I don't need to give anything back. Let's make it a void up here too. Be specific. The computer will do exactly what you tell it to do. Alright, implement the disconnect using the iWallet provider. You can call the disconnect function on it. Implement the get accounts using the iPacked API v1. Wait, what? That's right. You need a future get accounts response. do want info. Get account response. So I can get the accounts from the wallet. I can quick sign the wallet. And this is going to be Kadena. Get accounts. So that should work. Let's see. When the I initialize the iPact API v1 with the network when the network changes. Okay, yeah, there's a lot going on here, so let's just start from top to bottom. Okay, so I want this iPact API to be initialized when the network is called, because when it's initialized, which means I want an init function in here. Maybe a See, I love working through this, and trying to describe it to ChatGPT is like forcing me to think through all of the different steps. So like, yeah, in order to initialize or just set up my Kadena service, I need to know the network, right? I need to have a network, and I'd love to be able to set that network. And so setting the network, and perhaps getting the network. And totally possible, for example, that I just kind of get rid of these and just use functions to call them instead. So I can get and set, or set and get the network. I can set and get the network ID. This should be a network. Okay, so string get network ID. So if I set the network, that'll set up the packed API, which is what I want. And you know what? I might not care too much about, like, I mean, I know I need an account, that's for sure. The account is tied to a wallet provider. I need a network. I'm not sure I need the get accounts function. I can probably just automate that from the Kadena service, because I won't always need to call the getAccounts function. I would still like to respond when the network is called, the network changes. And I still don't think I need the active chains. I'm not sure if that's a requirement. We have our abstract, our value notifier, transactions. So just a list of all of our transactions. So like, let's say if I wanted to make like a bar on the right side that showed me all the transactions, I could do that. So I'm gonna get rid of this chain ID. Got a network, we got our packed API, and the packed API will have the network. See, so if I have the network here, then I don't necessarily need to get the network. This is a value notifier, and I'm okay with that. Getting a network ID though, definitely want to have that. So splitting this into functional groups, and sorry, my wife is unpacking some bags that might get a little crispy. So splitting this into kind of functional groups. We have our wallet provider, we have our account, and the wallet provider and account will, so in it's just kind of at the very, very top. Still not entirely sure if we need that. We will need the ability to set the network. Potentially. Let's just say that this network here allows us to set and to get it. We do want to have the ability to get the network ID, which will be retrieved from the packed API. Let's comment all this stuff in. Retrieves the network ID of the connected network. Generally retrieved from the packed API. So the packed API used to interact with the Kadena network. There we go. The URL of the connected network. When you set this, it will update the packed API with the new URL. Let's give an example of it. I guess I could call this node URL instead of just network. Let's do that. It's more clear. Of the node, the packed API will send requests to. Returns the network ID of the connected node. Generally retrieved from the packed API. Yep, totally fine with that. Okay. So we definitely need to have an init function, and get a service with given node URL. Packed API fetches the network ID. And fetch the network ID of the node. So that's what our init function is going to do. That we can use that to provide an initial node URL. We can also just set the node URL whenever we would like. But I would love to be able to wait for this to complete, you know? That's important to me. Like in an asynchronous environment, let's say I'm initializing this Kadena service, I want to wait for it to be done. Okay, so that's our Kadena side of things. That's how we communicate with Kadena. That's how we initialize all of that. Next up, we have our wallet provider. Wallet that is currently connected to the Kadena service. Yep, sure. Nope. Examples. Right now we just have wallet connect provider, and I'm fine with that. The account that was retrieved from the connected wallet. Yep. The list of transactions that have been sent to and received from the Pact API. So this will actually go up here. Connects to a wallet of the given type. Disconnects from the currently connected wallet. This will also clear the account. Yeah, that's true. This will not clear the transactions. This will not clear the node URL. Sure. Node URL. If the wallet is not connected, this will do nothing. Perfect. Local and send. Signs a quick request with the connected wallet. Sends each transaction locally and then sends it to the node using the Pact API. If the local and if local call succeeds, then it commits the Pact command to blockchain using send. Using Pact API v1.send. say tests each transaction locally using packed API v1.local, and if the local call succeeds, then commits the packed command to the blockchain using packed API v1.send. Dope. All right. I think that this is clear enough that we can have that stuffy nose. I think this is clear enough that we can just kind of paste this into. I'm just going to get rid of everything here. Boop. And we're going to reuse this. We're going to see how it works. So let's say that, let's provide our packed API. Excuse me. It's got some good documentation in here, man. Here are my interfaces. Is a writer class and a packed API v1 class. You can initialize. Please create an implementation of the Kadena service using the information above. And all of my information is just in here. Everything that I need from the interface just already exists. So, see how it does. There's a lot of information. I'm really curious to see if it runs out of text before it finishes. Sure, that's fine. That's good. I didn't tell him what a packed transaction response was, so we'll see how he does there. He's not implementing the functions. Is jump. Probably need to get a bit more granular, I think. Trying to have him implement the entire thing is definitely not working. That's something I need to do. Wallet provider should be optional. I'd like to be able to get the network ID. Maybe I don't really need it though. Not for now. I can add it later. Just comment you out. Good to go. Local and send. That's right. Depending on the type provided, create a new instance of the wallet provider. So okay, so we are connecting to the wallet. And if the wallet is, if the provider is wallet connect, get to the accounts. Excuse me. So step one is to connect, and this should return information to us. And in this case, we would like to return, say, that's right, I want to pass in the required namespaces, optional namespaces, session properties, pairing topic. Oof. Okay, let's do it. Excuse me. Oh, this has been 50 minutes, not 25. Oh boy. Okay. So I'm going to assume that we only have one required namespace, and that said required namespace okay, I'm gonna need to think of a different way, a better way to do this. So that I can use in all of my different places. So I'm gonna stop there. It's some pretty good progress. We got some really solid documentation on our Kadena service. Honestly, my end goal is it'd be really, really nice if someone could just slap this into a website and it just kind of works. We'll see if I can get that far. Yeah, so it's been an awesome week. We've made a ton of progress on lots of different things here. We got our UI. We tried to use ChatGPT to help me out, and honestly, trying to get him to build this class specifically has not worked. He's been really good at making my widgets. Like making these 3 widgets, easy. Like that was awesome. Making all these, not super great. He hasn't been very creative. He hasn't implemented the things I wanted, and that's a little bit annoying. It's slowing me down quite a bit. On the bright side, I do have a very well documented Kadena service, which I do appreciate. So, pros and cons. Trying to be articulate, and he still wasn't getting me what I needed, so this might be where he isn't super great. Granted, he is not supposed to, like, his goal isn't to generate code, he's to be a chatbot. So there is a code generation endpoint of OpenAI that I can use that would likely do much, much better than ChatGPT is doing. So maybe making a tool that lets you generate code based on interfaces. Now that, I think that would actually be really awesome. But again, thanks for hopping in. I'm gonna save all. And I'm gonna call it a day. Have a good one, guys.